Hey, welcome to 40 Cray, the podcast by two 30-something dudes whose adult lives and responsibilities have not yet eclipsed their zeal for stupid, nerdy shit. From Warhammer to video games to professional wrestling to movies with Guy Fieri featured in cameos. If it's your fandom, we're your tandem. Hello. It's me, Tommy Bones, aka Bones on Miniatures, and I'm, as always, joined by my co-host, Benjamin L.S. Demon.
Are there actual movies where Guy Fieri has a cameo? Is that a thing?
I hope so. I'm going to have to look that up now.
I want to publicly apologize to Guy Fieri because I was on the bandwagon of people that thought his peroxide bleached hair and backwards sunglasses were really annoying.
Yeah.
Apparently he's a really good guy.
Yeah, he seems like it.
So Guy Fieri, I'm sorry I judged you because I thought you were a frat boy from early 2000s. My mistake. You're apparently a great human being. Shame on me. Tom, a lot of stuff happened this week.
Yeah, so we are filming this the night of May 7th. So nothing interesting happening in the world of Warhammer. So we're going to...
Well, no, there was a couple. It was Warhammer Fest.
Like I said, nothing interesting happening.
Oh, ha, ha, ha. There were a couple cool things. They had some orcs today.
Yeah, that was a joke.
There were some Imperial Guard guys.
Yeah, Acadians got new arms and heads.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit going on, but everybody's covering it ad nauseum, and that's, whatever. So we're going to talk about something completely different, because that's how we do it, right, Tom?
That's right.
We love Warhammer. Yes, we do. We love video games. Yes, we do. But we also love some good old-fashioned... Oh, okay, I'll have to add a fourth thing. That is slamming. I can really taste the juice.
We're going to Flavor Town.
I couldn't remember his catchphrase. I was like trying to channel him, but that's his catchphrase. Wrestling. We're talking about wrestling.
Yes, professional wrestling.
Why are we talking about wrestling, Tom?
Yeah. So I guess that it all started because I found out recently one of my coworkers has a house in Canada, and her landscaper is Dink the Clown. Not Doink, but his diminutive partner. Yeah, his partner was a person of short stature, Dink. That was a horrible time in the WWE. They were so un-PC and insensitive. Because he was originally Macho Midget. He imitated Macho Man Randy Savage. And, as we all know, that's super uncool.
Whoa, I just read Dink the Clown passed away in 2013.
I thought Doink the Clown passed away in 2013.
Oh, maybe. So I think this Google question didn't know that Dink was a different person. Oh, Claude Giroux.
Yeah.
He's Canadian, okay.
He also plays for the Flyers. Right? That's Claude. That's his first name.
Well, Claude, if you're out there, we would love to have you on the show. And it would be just fascinating to hear about what it was like kind of working for the business at that point. But in honor of your memory and thinking about how much you entertained us, Tom and I wanted to talk wrestling, and that's why we're doing a top 5 today.
Yeah, the top 5 strangest gimmicks / storylines.
Yeah, absolutely. And I focused mostly on gimmicks because my attention span is too short to read up on storylines. But I hope there's a couple that appear in yours.
Oh yeah, most of them are, yeah.
So I've got some gimmicks. You've got some. Some of these are going to be kind of fun. Yeah, man, we're doing top 5. Originally we said dumbest, but just some of them are dumb for some reasons, and some of them are kind of cool dumb. So just reserve judgment. If you like it, do it. If you don't like it,
yeah, we went with weirdest. So it was originally dumbest, and then we decided to make it more towards the weird.
Okay,
not necessarily bad.
Mine kind of work. Mine are mostly bad, weird.
Yeah, mine too.
Are you ready for my 5th kind of weirdest gimmick?
Yeah. Duke
the Dumpster.
Duke the Dumpster. Was he the garbage man?
He was a garbage man.
Yeah, I remember him.
So Triple H has his sledgehammer. Tommy Dreamer has his what is that thing? The Singapore cane. Duke the Dumpster had a trash can.
Well, yeah. You had to have your thing, right?
And he was that's it. He was a trash guy. He just came out. He was a face. I mean, people liked him.
Yeah. A lot of those weird things were very short-lived, I think. They didn't last terribly long. The fans didn't get behind it, and then they found something else for him to do.
So he was a thing in like '94 when I think I was like 8, and I think I saw an episode with him, and I was like, oh, okay, he seems kind of like the everyman. I just think like they could have called him something else, like that taking out the trash, but it's like I'm a dumpster.
Duke the dumpster. I think did he become somebody else? Because I'm picturing him in my head, and he looks familiar from what I can remember.
He might have, because he's got a couple gimmicks listed.
Duke the Dumpster Droz.
Yeah, he had a couple. Marshall Duke, Rocco Gibraltar, the Garbage Man. I just think if you've got the word dumpster in your name, you've got the word dump in your name.
Yeah.
That's it. I just thought it was silly.
Okay. Yeah, not who I was thinking of. Okay, never mind. I remember him, but he looked different in my head.
Do you know where they said he was from? You know how like the Ultimate Warrior's from Parts Unknown?
Yeah.
He's from Mount Trashmore, Florida. Which sounds like where I'm from.
Perfect.
All right, that's my 5. Who's your number 5?
Speaking of Parts Unknown, number 5 is the Ultimate Warrior.
Seriously?
Yeah.
He was cool though.
Yeah, he was cool, but he was fucking weird. Like any vignette you can look on YouTube, especially the airplane one. Oh Jesus.
Oh yeah, the airplane.
That guy was out of his gourd. But I was a huge fan. So all of my things, everything on my list, I remember personally, like I watched, and The Ultimate Warrior was my absolute favorite when I was just a wee boy. But yeah, just the stars and the planets align, Hulk Hogan.
That's such a good impression.
Man, there's nothing that came out of his mouth made any sense, but it was captivating because he sprinted down to the ring, just had all this energy, and and from what I understand, he was a terrible wrestler.
And kind of a jerk too, I think.
Yeah, that was back when I think Vince started getting more into like guys just needed to have a good physique. It didn't really matter if they knew how to wrestle or not.
And I mean, he was jacked back then.
Yeah, he was.
Well, so why did you pick him?
Because he was fucking weird, and particularly the airplane one vignette. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. See, like they're on an airplane, and you make your way to the door of the cabin. Hulk Hogan, break down the door. Hulk Hogan, the pilot has made the ultimate sacrifice. Put the plane into a tailspin, and you will find yourself over parts unknown. Amazing.
I feel like I'm back there.
I loved everything about him. So yeah, he's on my list.
So basically just because he was super weird, but it worked. I mean, he's got a lot of criticism, especially lately, but he was so fun when we were kids.
Yeah, just the charisma and just the energy. There's nothing like it, I think.
All right. Well, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 4, now that we've established that we're both crazy. Perfect. You remember Al Snow?
Yes, I do.
What does everybody want?
Head.
What does everybody need?
Head.
Tom, obviously you know him. What's his deal?
So yeah, you know the talking to inanimate objects thing was done quite a few times, but Head was special, I think.
So I mean, I think Al Snow, he trained a lot of other wrestlers, but at some point he was just a dude, and he would just walk around with this disembodied mannequin head that he would sometimes write things on the forehead and sometimes talk to it and sometimes beat people with it.
Help me.
Yeah, did that what he wrote on it?
He wrote "Help me" on his forehead, or her forehead, wow. I guess. But yeah, there was also Perry Saturn had Moppy.
Yeah, I was gonna say Perry Saturn, but Al Snow beat him up.
Yeah, he had Moppy. From what I understand, that was a punishment for him being too stiff. So
what happened with Saturn is there was a guy, he was a jobber, and somebody in the locker room told him, hey, Saturn will respect you if you, hit him hard. Mm-hmm. So he actually, legit botched a move, and Saturn got concussed, and then just, blacked out and beat the living bejeebus out of the guy.
Yeah. So as a result of that, he had to carry around a mop that he thought was Terry Reynolds.
Yeah.
And then, Mankind with Mr. Sacco.
Mankind was kind of in a different league though, because I feel like Mr. Sacco worked for his character, whereas like he was just friendly, whereas Al Snow was kind of vicious and terrifying.
Yeah. I think Al Snow was also known for being stiff.
I'm sure he was, because he also trained a bunch of people.
Yeah. WWE Tough Enough.
But anyway, Al Snow, go look him up. I remember his move that he had that I thought was super cool is he would like trap the guy's arms and then headbutt him a whole bunch.
Yeah.
All right, that's my number 4. Who's your number 4?
So my number 4, so this is the earliest one on my list when I was but a wee boy. So for weeks leading up to Survivor Series 1990, there was a giant egg, and it would just sit in the back, and everyone kind of speculated what was in it. And then at Survivor Series, the egg hatched to reveal the gobbledygooker, which was a giant turkey costume, and it made absolutely no sense. And I remember being 6 years old at the time, like, wow, this is fucking dumb. And Mean Gene was trying so hard to sell it.
So wait, was it a guy dressed as a giant turkey?
Yeah, fun fact, it was inside the turkey mannequin costume, Hector Guerrero, brother of Eddie and Chavo.
Those poor men.
Yeah, but yeah, no, he's a giant turkey mascot for some reason, and he got booed out of the stadium, and it was dropped very shortly thereafter.
Well, that is disappointing. Yeah, dude, some really weird WWE shit that happened in the past. So the gobbledygooker is just
gobbledygooker.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, but maybe try harder.
Yeah, and a lot of my research, looking for like things that maybe I hadn't thought of, a lot of them were ideas that came up with by Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, well, I've got a couple on my list that are going to make people confused. Let's put it that way.
Okay, let's see.
All right, my next one. All right, my number 3. You know him and love him from WCW NWO Revenge, one of my favorite games of all time on the N64. Yeah. Really a very good time. Disco Inferno.
Yes.
And here's the thing with Disco Inferno. He was a guy who did disco.
Yeah.
And that is all.
In the 2000s.
In the 2000s. So no, it was like the 90s.
Yeah.
But he was just
into the aughts, though, I think, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And he just discoed. That was his thing.
Mm-hmm.
He would stop. He would kind of do a little like Saturday Night Fever dance for 2 seconds, and then that was his gimmick. And I'm sure, like, for those that don't know how wrestling works, right? Like, you show up one day, you go through you spend years like training up and trying to get noticed until you're finally picked up. Unless you're Brock Lesnar and you look amazing, like some kind of freakish Neanderthal, and then you get immediately picked up in the big leagues. You get brought up in the local junk, and you gotta then help other people look good by being bad, and then at some point they give you a shot, and when they give you a shot they tell you, hey, here's your character, and that's your gimmick. And this guy did all that work, and his gimmick was that he liked disco.
You really like disco.
And apparently he's got a great sense of humor. Apparently he's like really active on podcasts and stuff. But I feel for him, because I would have been super bummed if that was me.
Yeah.
So Disco Inferno, look him up. Talented, he did some good stuff. I think he was a cruiserweight, but was not certainly gifted with a good gimmick.
Yeah. But at the same time, you do all that work and you bust your ass to make it to the big time, and you're on national TV. Are you going to complain that you have to wear bell bottoms?
I wouldn't complain I have to wear bell bottoms.
Right?
I would not complain about wearing bell bottoms. Well, yeah, I wouldn't for the first couple weeks, and then I'd be like, this is going to be the rest of my career, isn't it?
Yeah. Tell that to Isaac Yankem, DDS.
Absolutely. And then that's actually a really good point. Kane, one of the most respected and principled wrestlers of all time, started out as Isaac Yankem, DDS. He was a dentist. Jerry
Lawler's dentist, yeah.
So, there you go.
I think that was after he was Fake Diesel.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, he ended up, for those that don't know, I think his name, what's his name? Glenn Jacobs?
Yeah.
He ended up, he's very successful now, but Kane was a great gimmick. That was all. He got to be like this evil underworld character with a mask. It was pretty
Undertaker's
crazy.
Brother, the whole
Kane, it was awesome.
Kane and Abel thing, come back to kill his brother.
Oh, it was amazing.
With the
So
mask and the hair, he's just. And then he took the mask off, and he was supposed to be like burned and scarred and mutilated from the fire, and he was just like a normal dude. You know, like.
and his hair came off with it.
Yeah.
That was what bothered me more, is he just took it off and it's like, oh, the hair was a wig attached to the mask?
Yeah.
I think it had been his hair at one point. He probably lost it.
Yeah. Receded. But Brothers of Destruction was awesome.
That was amazing. Undertaker and Ken, they're both like over 6'10", I think.
Yeah.
And just really talented, both super respected in the industry, very safe, and really dedicated, and yeah, really great guys. Mm. I wonder if we could get Glenn Jacobs on. I know he's a mayor in a small town now.
Yeah. So Glenn Jacobs, if you're listening.
Oh yeah, if you're the guy in Jordan listening in, hey, whoever that guy is, thanks for listening, man. You're our favorite Jordan listener. We love. Let's just take a moment, Tom. You know, you and I do this because we like each other's company and because we're passionate about some stuff. But to all our listeners, thanks for staying in. We love this stuff. We love you guys. Thanks for being part of this. Let us know what you want. You know. Tune in, tell us what you're thinking of. Anyway.
Definitely. That reminds me, I really want to get to Petra at some point.
Oh, in Jordan?
So Jordan, when the stars align, I will be in Jordan at some point. And also about the commenting, I noticed, because whenever I check the Podbean site, I don't see a section for comments. You have to click on the episode itself. But I was like, wait a minute, can people actually comment, or are we telling them to do something that's impossible? So I wanted to double check. But I found on Apple's podcast app, Ryan from Command Point left us a comment and a rating.
Dude, that guy was classy. I should figure out how to use Discord so I can play some TTS with that guy.
Yeah, he's a super cool dude.
Ryan from Command Point. Actually, all of Command Point, you guys are awesome.
Yeah, big fan.
All right, Tom.
Yes.
Number 3. So far, let's just to review. Duke the Dumpster, Disco Inferno, and Al Snow.
Yeah.
And so far, you've talked about the Ultimate Warrior and the Gobbledygooker.
Yeah.
What's your number 3?
So my number 3, the Attitude Era, Sexual Chocolate Mark Henry.
Sexual Chocolate!
He was in a relationship with Mae Young. I don't know if you remember this.
I remember Mae Young. I don't remember this angle, but I'm sure it was terrible.
Yeah, so Mark Henry and Mae Young, they were in a romantic relationship. Mae Young, as we know, an octogenarian at the time. The culmination of the storyline was that Mae Young became pregnant with Mark Henry's child. So everyone was rightly confused, because how is that possible? So on one of the episodes of, it was probably Raw, Mae Young went into labor and was going to give birth on live TV, and it turned out that she gave birth to a life-size rubber hand covered in petroleum jelly.
Wow.
Let that sink in for a second.
Okay. Well, so there's a lot of problems with this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where to begin, Tom.
Nothing wrong with the relationship. You want to have a April-December, relationship, more power to you. I don't care. But the fact that they tried to pass Mae Young off as pregnant when she was in her 80s, and then someone actually delivered a rubber hand.
Yeah, why the hand? There's a lot of weird stuff in there.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with that one.
Okay, well, I mean, there were some other moments from that era, which I may get into shortly too, which were kind of messed up. But yeah, Mark Henry, who later on became the strongest man in the world and actually was a legit strongman. I think he did win strongest man in the world.
World's strongest man, Mark Henry.
Was briefly Sexual Chocolate. The Mae Young thing is I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it.
It was just so weird, and it didn't fit with anything else. It was so out of place.
It's weird because at that time there were a couple a little bit overtly sexual things. There was the ladies wearing the shirts that was a little bit too much of their cleavage showing, and then Jerry Lawler would yell like puppies.
Right.
I
think around that time, it might have been around that time, Rena Maro was in Playboy, Sable, remember?
Yeah.
I think she did a shoot with Playboy, and then there was a whole big thing about that with Mark Maro, and he was trying to be overprotective.
I mean, there was another story angle I almost took on, which was Kane was having illegitimate child with the guy who was Jeff Hardy's girlfriend, or the lady who was Jeff Hardy's girlfriend.
Lita.
Lita, she was awesome.
Yeah, she was super cool.
But like Kane and her were having a baby or something. Like that stuff was a little bit too much.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I did look up some things to see if there was something I missed. And a lot of the storylines back in the day, like a shocking number of storylines involved sexual assault. So Lita was pregnant with Kane's baby because he raped her.
Seriously?
Well, Kane won
that was the story. It was kayfabe, but...
Yeah. But Kane won a match, and Lita was forced to marry him as a result of him winning the match, like she was some kind of property, and got impregnated from the whole situation. And because I was going to have Gene Snitsky was going to be on my list, because you remember him?
No.
It's not my fault. That guy.
Oh, what was that from?
Gene Snitsky. That was his catchphrase. It wasn't my fault. So Lita was pregnant with Kane's baby after he raped her. Didn't want to have the baby, obviously, but Kane was like super overprotective and wouldn't let her get rid of the child. So Kane had a match with this random no-name guy, jobber Gene Snitsky, who Lita ended up interfering in the match, and Snitsky hit Kane. Kane fell into Lita, and then the trauma caused her to miscarry. And then everyone blamed Snitsky, and his thing became, it wasn't my fault. Yeah, somehow it turned Lita against him. Like all of a sudden she sided with Kane now because she lost the baby, and it was just a whole big clusterfuck, and it was just super uncomfortable.
Well, wait until you get to my number one. It's kind of in that same vein, and I'm sure Mr. McMahon probably had something about that. Am I the only one who doesn't really like Mr. McMahon?
No, from what I understand, he's super racist and fattest among other
issues.
Yeah.
All right. So that whole Mark Henry situation, obviously problematic. I'm just gonna go to my number two because this one's a little lighthearted. It's lighthearted. You ready for a lighthearted? All right. One word. You tell me if you remember it. You ready?
Shoot.
Shockmaster.
The Shockmaster.
What do you remember of Shockmaster?
I remember his glitter stormtrooper mask on Tugboat. And he tumbled through a collapsible wall.
So yeah, the guy, it was Tugboat, aka Typhoon. This really big dude, Fred Ottman, who had previously teamed up with Earthquake to be the natural disasters, which was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
And he put on his new outfit. He was Shockmaster, which he had this stormtrooper helmet, like a Star Wars stormtrooper helmet that they'd glittered over, and he couldn't see out of it. And he was super strong and big, and they were like, okay, what you got to do is just run through this wall and make a really powerful entrance. And he was going to be, I don't know what they were planning for this role, because what happened on live TV, he ran through the wall, like fell the fuck over, like onto his face, and the helmet flew off.
If I remember correctly, it was an 8-man tag. And one of the teams was having trouble finding another member, so it was like a surprise or a secret leading up to who was going to be their mystery partner, and it was going to be Shockmaster. When the big reveal, obviously, he tumbled through a wall.
And I'm going to take a pause here in just a second to watch this video. But basically, it's one of the biggest botches of all time because he tumbled through the wall, his mask fell off, looked ridiculous. It was a stupid outfit anyway, and I don't know what he was planning.
Oh, did you forget the feather boa?
Oh, did he have a feather boa too? All right.
I think so.
I'm going to put this video in the chat. If you guys want, just put Shockmaster into YouTube. You'll get the stunning debut. Tom, let's both take a break and just rewatch this piece of amazing history.
Yeah.
What is he wearing?
I thought he had a feather boa.
Okay. That was way funnier than I remembered.
Yeah. At the board games.
All right. So now that we're coming back here, guys, do yourself a favor. Go watch the Shockmaster video. It's not only great because British Bulldog and Sid Vicious, who weren't really good on the mic, are just screaming at each other.
Yeah.
And Sting is like trying not to laugh. As Ric Flair, who I think is really good at acting, was probably like, oh god, these guys need a little bit of work. But and then Shockmaster shows up falls on his face, his helmet flies off, gets up, acts like nothing happened, and then has a really stupid pre-recorded voice that comes through. Also, Shockmaster is a stupid name anyway.
That too.
All right. That's my number 2. What's your number 2, Tom?
So this one's fairly recent. I don't know if you still watch, but maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio had a feud. It was at Survivor Series. Seth Rollins was the Raw captain, and the Raw team got embarrassed. I don't think they eliminated anybody, and they got eliminated super quick. So that the following night on Raw, and Seth Rollins had he had the entire Raw roster come down, and he was like, look, we sucked. I'm the only one who's any good. You're all terrible. So we have to do better for ourselves. That we're embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to be on this roster at all. And then that's sort of when he became the Monday Night Messiah. But Rey Mysterio he took particular exception, and they had a feud. And then during one of the matches, Seth Rollins had Rey Mysterio outside the ring, and he held Rey Mysterio's eyeball onto the corner of the metal ring stairs. And they had the whole the blood packets and everything, and it was he was supposed to literally gouge Rey Mysterio's eye out with the ring stair, and he wore an eye patch in his mask for a while. That led to a whole big backstory to get to my actual point. Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio in an eye for an eye match. So to win the match.
Wait, so it was kayfabe, right?
Yeah, all in character.
And then Seth Rollins apparently threw up after it happened.
Yeah, so to win this match, the winner, to be declared the winner, you had to pull your opponent's eyeball out of its socket. That's the only way to win the match.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Right? So Seth Rollins ended up winning the match. He vomited from being horrified by what he did. And then for the rest of the time, Rey Mysterio had an eye patch. I don't know if it was sewn into his, or if he just wore it underneath his mask, but it was easy because he wore a mask, so it stayed in place. And then that kind of started his whole descent. What made it even worse, as dumb as that is already, what made it worse is that Seth Rollins, his kayfabe wife, Becky Lynch, had recently had to denounce her women's title because she was pregnant. So not very long after we find out Seth Rollins' wife is pregnant, we find out that he's a sociopath who gouges people's eyes out, and he's going to be a father. So that was just weird timing.
Oh, she's actually married to Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
In real life.
Yeah.
That's cool. I always liked her.
Mm-hmm. The man.
Okay, that's nasty. I did not know that happened. I'm shocked that got through in the day and age that we live in.
Yeah.
Okay, my last one's disgusting, but not for that same reason.
Okay.
Are you ready for my number 1?
Yeah.
My number 1 is Akeem the African Dream.
Perfect.
So there was a wrestler named George Gray. He was a big dude, 6'9", 450, big dude.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while, he was the one-man gang where he would just show up. He was kind of I'm a tough guy, with a bandana and a jean jacket vest thing, and just beat people up kind of on his own.
Yeah. Which
you could believe because the guy's enormous. And according to an article I read online, because this is absolutely inexcusable that this happened. He changed his character to Akeem the African Dream, which would wear a dashiki and African garb of not a specific country, just African.
Mm-hmm.
And he was billed as from deepest, darkest Africa, and he would just kind of walk around and do kind of tribal things that somebody a really rich guy who's white from Connecticut might imagine that people in Africa do.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly cultural appropriation, certainly really, really goddamn racist. Here's the kicker. He's white.
Yeah.
He's a Caucasian man.
Yeah.
So rather than hiring another, African American or black wrestler, they got this white guy to pretend to be African, and it's just demeaning on all levels. I don't know how it was okay. I don't know how people aren't more mad about it.
Yeah.
And it's just silly. Like, we have this retrospective looking back on stuff now, and I imagine a lot of people would be pissed about this. I think it's more interesting as just well, we were fucking stupid as a country, and shit like that was okay. So I just want to apologize.
Seriously.
For Akeem the African Dream. Go Google this. It's pretty rough. You didn't even know about this one, right?
Yeah. I remembered One Man Band.
One Man Gang.
One Man Gang. The 3-man band. That's totally different. That was Jinder Mahal, Heath Slater, and Drew McIntyre. But yeah, One Man Gang, I remember him. But Hakeem the American Dream, or the African Dream, that I guess I blacked that out on account of how horrible it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's so much back in the day that was like just blatantly racist and sexist and just horrible. Like just going through this, like trying to find a list and doing a little bit of research. I think I mentioned before just how many times rape storylines came up.
Yeah.
Triple H, drugging Stephanie McMahon and consummating their marriage, and what's his name, Heidenreich, having his way with Michael Cole.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, so Heidenreich was weird, kind of in the vein of like a Psycho Sid, just sociopath that nobody wants to fuck with because he's crazy, kind of a character. They do that so often. So he cornered Michael Cole in the locker room, and they insinuated that he had his way with him.
Yeah, that's really weird. Kind of makes me like wrestling less.
And I wish I could say they're better about stuff like that now. I mean, they kind of are a little bit.
I mean, at least there's probably someone who says like, "Hey, Vince, like that's not cool." Boy, now I'm sad. Is your number one something that's just goofy? I didn't mean to make this like a sad one. I was gonna do stupid shit like Al Snow and Disco Inferno, and then I got down the dark path of, oh no, this shit's really racist and sexist.
I mean, the one that I subbed out last minute was super dark, and I'm glad that I changed it. But yeah, number one is nice and lighthearted. So
okay, let's do it. Tom, bring us home with something nice and lighthearted.
All right. My number one is Broken Matt Hardy. What do you know of this?
I know. Is this like his latest thing where he's kind of old and he's a little cuckoo or something?
So he has like the skunk spot in his hair, but this was when he was in TNA. Matt and Jeff Hardy were in TNA, and so Matt, he lost a match to Jeff, and during the match this is all in character. It's actually, in character, he lost a match and was injured. And the injury was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, and he just kind of snapped following that match. And what followed, the Broken Matt Hardy saga, and I think I have. Oh yeah, search for A Beginner's Guide to Broken Matt Hardy, and it has links to all the relevant videos. But yeah, no, it was just a stream of consciousness with little actual coherency and plot. But it was just so weird and nonsensical that it made for such a perfect I don't know if satire is the right word, but just a commentary on how all the vignettes and characters and personas were so different, or they were all the same and recycled. And then all of a sudden, here comes Broken Matt Hardy, and everything is just weird, and none of it makes any sense, and it's hilarious.
All right. I'm watching some of these now while you're telling the viewers about this.
The first one, Total Deletion, I think it's called, was the first match. Him versus Jeff Hardy. But yeah, at one point, Jeff Hardy is shooting a Roman candle at him, shooting fireworks at Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy is running for cover, trying not to get hit. Because this is all taking place on the Hardy compound, right? So they have their own like wrestling facility in their backyard, because of course they do. And there's a lake and like an old beat up rowboat. So Matt Hardy's running, and he finds the rowboat, and he hides behind it and uses it as cover from the fireworks being shot at him. And he says, "Oh, you're just a dilapidated boat." and like that becomes like a running thing, and he has the dilapidated boat like coated in gold, and he gives it an award for being a dilapidated boat. Yeah, there's it's just so amazingly nonsensical that it was refreshing. Like everything was just so same and reused, and this was just genius because it made no sense, but that was the point, that it was so different.
All right. I'm gonna watch one of these real quick, and then I'll give you my. I'm just watching the threatens to delete Vince, and he's like slurring his words.
Yeah, well, he put on a weird accent.
Yeah, what's the accent? It's just random.
Yeah, none of it makes any sense. He was just putting on a weird accent. He was broken. The loss and the injury, it finally caused him to snap. And this is what we get as a result. And it was just amazing.
All right. Well, I know what I'm watching. He looks really funny.
I think there was one. There was someone came to his house to interview him, and ended up staying for dinner because his wife Rebby and his son Maxwell had huge parts in it. So forget who it was interviewing him, but came to dinner, and they were offered her green beans. She's like, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I don't want any." And he's like, "What do you mean you don't want any green beans? They are a delicacy." Like it's just that kind of irreverence and just nonsense. It was just so refreshing to see something different for a change.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy we ended on that note.
Yeah.
What can I say? Wrestling's a weird thing. It's got its own subculture. It's fun. Sometimes it's a little weird, but for the most part, we enjoy it. And we hope you do too, viewers. This was slightly different than our usual. We didn't talk about Warhammer. There's enough Warhammer going on. Take a minute, go watch some old YouTube vignettes of some classic pro wrestlers. Get into it like we did, and just let your imagination run wild. And until next time, when Tom and I get together across the 3,000 or so miles of the continental United States,
3 hours.
Don't forget to mash that like and subscribe button.
Suck it.
Scruff McGruff struggle. What does that have to do with having about it a crime? What happened with Alex?
Good fight. Good night.
Oh, bye. Are you boys back? Oh, George TK, you're in California too.
You're going to fabulous Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
All right, whenever you're ready. Sorry.
Hey, welcome to Fuerte.